stop losses. Let's talk about them. And I want to talk about, why they actually hurt your performance of your trading systems. All right, stop losses can severely reduce the performance of any individual trading system. Automated or manual, it will make your trading system essentially make less money, lose less, but also make less money. And most common traders, or the common feedback is, every trading strategy has to have a stop loss, which I don't think is true. I think it, depends on testing, and obviously your risk tolerance as well is more important. But I do want to say that stop losses do reduce performance. I'm going to be showing you why. Before I get started, hello, my name is Jacob Amaral. I build, code, and trade over 30 different trading systems on the futures market to make a return for myself, all in an automated fashion. If you want to learn more about automated trading, portfolio management, algo trading, see the links in the description below. Okay, so let's look at this diesel futures trading system. All right, here's a back test for this system actually incubating this strategy right now. And if it makes money by the end of Q3, I will be launching it live. So this system has no stop loss. If you see in the settings here on the right, we can see that all the settings are set to 0. And if we look at the actual source code for the strategy, it has no stop loss, right? Stop loss is set to 0. It's exiting based on indicator signals. Okay, so it's exiting if the close crosses below the upper Bollinger Band for the long side, and then for the short side, sorry, if I can talk here, it's exiting if the open is less than the high 1 bar ago. So if we look at the trades, when you don't have stop losses, or sorry, if I add a stop loss to this strategy, okay, so say I set a 1% stop loss, right? So right now the back test, we have 154K net profit. If I hit a 1% stop loss, we can expect this to go down significantly, all right? Because now we're limiting every single trade to have that stop loss of 1%, and a lot of trades are going to get stopped out. Now, risk adjusted, all right, so the net profit went down by more than half, as well as the max drawdown, all right? So it made less money, but also our max drawdown went down a lot lower, and our largest losing trade went down a lot lower as well. So stop losses will hurt performance of most systems. All right, if I take off that stop loss, we'll go back, rerun the back test. We'll see obviously our original performance, which was much, much better. Now, I say that stop losses do reduce the performance of your trading system and that is true. However, you may not be able to handle the risk of not having a stop loss. So for this strategy, for example, a 30K max drawdown, you may not be able to handle that in your portfolio, right? This is based on one futures contract. Once again, this is diesel futures. So you may not be able to handle this max drawdown, okay? Also, I do want to point out, we see the largest losing trade here as 8,585, which, once again, I do want to reiterate, this is based on a closed trade performance, right? This is the NinjaTrader Strategy Analyzer backtest. And one thing I teach everybody is that the largest losing trade is based on closed trades. If you want to find open trades, then you actually have to go to the analysis tab. And I'm going to show you that this largest losing trade was actually bigger. So it's saying that the largest losing trade without a stop loss is 8,500. However, if I go to the analysis tab here in NinjaTrader and I sort by average or max adverse excursion, which is average MAE here in this column, we can see at one point here 22,000. So that this means that at one point you were down 22,000 unrealized. Now the trade closed down 5.6 thousand based on one contract, but at one point you were down 22,000. There's actually a lot of other trades where you're down more than 10,000. Okay, so the biggest losing trade is, sort of not real, especially when you don't have stop losses. You need to look at this analysis tab. And as a trader, you may not be able to handle that of being down 22,000 based on one contract. If I go to the trades here and find that exact trade, it was this one. Yeah, we can see it was long here, and at one point was underwater quite a bit. Now the strategy does not have stop loss, right? So it's holding through that. And you may think that's stupid, but you got to follow the rules, right? If you tested and modeled the strategy to have these enter and exit signals, you need to follow that. But yeah, so there's a lot of left end tail risk with these types of strategies. You're going to have some big single loss, some big single trade losers, as well as winners. So if we look at the upside and go to the most profitable trades, we see these trades. This trade closed up 24,000 per contract, and at one point you were up 27,000 MFE max favorable excursion as well on that trade. So a lot of trades on the upside that were great as well on the downside. So we saw that the stop loss did decrease the performance. However, actually, I'm curious, did it decrease the risk adjusted performance if we added that stop loss? So 154 divided by 30 gives us a 5.1 return to drawdown. And if I add that stop loss at 1%, it was what, 64.17, right? 64 divided by 17, yeah, 3.76. So risk adjusted, the stop loss also hurt it. So stop losses will reduce your performance, but that's, doesn't mean you don't need to have stop losses. Like if you cannot handle that single trade loss or that max drawdown, then yeah, you probably need to add some type of risk management where you're adding a stop loss. Okay. And that you got to test that for yourself. But yeah, if you cannot handle the max drawdown or the single losing trade based on your account size, or based on just your risk metrics, your goals for handling risk, then you need to have a stop loss, right? And you have to accept that reduced performance on the upside. Okay. You're gonna have reduced performance with that stop loss because you're gonna have some trades that are just going to go against you and stop out. All right. And if you didn't have a stop loss, it might have bounced back a couple times. But you have to accept that you are going to get decreased performance when you have stop losses. Okay. Profit targets as well. Profit targets generally will decrease your upside. It does decrease your upside, so you have to expect your upside to also decrease as well. And that, I don't think is talked about a lot with automated trading systems. The most common fee is to always have stop losses. Now, what about me? What do I do? What does Jacob do? So I personally, try everything. I test everything. Stop losses, no stop losses, trail stops, profit targets, exiting based on indicators, exiting after a certain amount of time as well. And, I just make sure that I have enough capital to trade that trading system, and whatever it tells me, whatever the testing from my back testing and out of sample testing tells me, that's what I'm going to trade. Okay. Now there's some tough periods, of course. You have strategies. I've launched strategies without a stop loss, and it feels like the first trade or second trade that I traded live, it goes way against me, and I'm down quite a bit, which is very painful. I had one trading system on natural gas, and no stop loss on the system. It had a profit target actually, and then a timed exit. And I think literally the first trade that I went to live, like it passed all my testing in and out of sample testing, Monte Carlo incubation, all that. And the first trade it made live, I think it closed down like, I don't know, $4,000 per contract loss. Okay, so $4,000 based on one contract, which was probably within, probably the fourth or fifth biggest loss compared to the backtest, which is really painful for me to experience. Now that system has made new equity highs this year and actually been profitable for me, but its first trade was really bad back in, I think it was January. So that was painful. If I had a stop loss, I could have dodged that. However, all the other profitable trades that it made thereafter might have actually been stopped out first before hitting their targets. So once again, in conclusion, stop losses will hurt your performance of your automated trading systems, but also give you that peace of mind that you have a limit on the downside. Okay, you have a limit risk on the downside. It may make you feel better as a trader. It may make you sleep better at night, which that peace of mind could be worthwhile to you as well. So, stop losses are not better than no stop losses in terms of the psychology of your trading systems and kind of that open-ended risk. But if you're going for pure performance, then technically you should have no stop losses. And that's kind of the battle you have as an algo trader is you need to balance that risk with the upside, right? You want the best performance, but you do want to limit your downside as well, so you're not freaking out every night when you have positions overnight. Okay. So let me know in the comments below if you prefer to use stop losses on all your automated trading systems. Um, do you have a hybrid approach where you have some systems without, some system with? I'd like to hear your thoughts and how you use how you use stop losses. Maybe you prefer trail stops because you like that, the stop loss moves in your direction if the trade goes in your favor. I would love to hear your thoughts. And one thing I like too, is having obviously multiple exits. So on your next trading system that you build, try this idea. I like it a lot. So I like sometimes combining a profit target and a trail stop. So you have a system that can exit two ways with a profit target and trail stop. And thus, if your trade goes immensely in your direction, right, in your favor, your profit target's going to hit, kind of, getting that profit and getting out of the market, which is a good feeling. But also you have that trail stop too, where if the trade goes in your favor, but then starts curling down and going against you, you're able to lock in some gains as well. And I like to try, a 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 profit target to trail stop. Try that on your next trading system, and you'll notice that you'll produce safer trading systems in terms of protecting your trades that go against you. Once again, you are going to limit your upside with the profit target and your downside with the trail stop, so your performance won't be as good as if you had them off. However, you have that peace of mind that you have that trail stop and profit target working for you. So try that in your next trading system and let me know in the comments below how you feel about trail stop losses. Do you use them all the time, or do you prefer kind of mix and matching? Have a good one, guys. See you next week. Bye bye.